Welcome, brave souls, to a journey into the terrifying depths of the supernatural. Tonight, we bring you 3 spine-tingling tales that will challenge your belief in the unknown. These stories will blur the lines between reality and the unexplainable, leaving you with a sense of unease that lingers long after the video has ended. If you're ready to embrace the fear of the unknown, then dive into chilling tales of the unknown, 3 supernatural horror stories. Whispers in the Haunted House. The confession I am about to make is not born out of a desire for mere entertainment, but out of an urgent need to share a harrowing tale that transcends the realms of reason and plunges us deep into the abyss of the unknown. My skepticism, once unshakable, has crumbled like an ancient, weathered stone under the weight of an otherworldly encounter. Listen, dear reader, for I am about to recount an event so profound that it has changed the very fabric of my existence. Imagine, if you will, a desolate October evening, pervaded by an ominous stillness that clung to the very air. The sky itself seemed shrouded in a mournful pall, with ashen clouds looming low. An icy gale cut through me as I stood resolutely before the ancient mansion that loomed ominously at the end of Willow Street. It carried an aura so unsettling, a malevolent mix of fear and whispers that spanned eons. It was curiosity, that most treacherous of companions, that led me here, spurred on by the reckless daring of my comrades in the dimly lit confines of our local tavern, enter the haunted abode and endure a night. They dared. Their laughter, a discordant symphony of mockery. Drunk on bravado and spirits, I scoffed at their tales of ghosts and superstition, only to succumb to their challenge. As I crossed the threshold, the ancient floorboards groaned like tortured souls, a cacophonous chorus of ages past. The dilapidated furniture, entangled in the silken tendrils of ancient cobwebs, seemed frozen in a mournful stasis, as if the ghosts of time themselves were weeping for what had been lost. Through dimly lit corridors, I ventured, my heart a wild drum in the cavern of my chest. The basement, a setting ripped from the darkest recesses of a horror story, awaited my descent. A palpable chill emanated from the Stygian depths, accompanied by eerie guttural utterances echoing from the abyss below. My resolve wavered, and the prospect of a further exploration held no attraction for my quivering spirit. Climbing the rickety stairs, each step a discordant dirge, I pushed open a door to an upper chamber that seemed strangely serene amidst the house's spectral disarray. An anemic candle, flickering with spectral constancy, shed its feeble light into the room, conjuring diaphanous phantasms on the walls. And there, amidst the interplay of light and shadow, she manifested, a woman draped in the tattered remnants of a once pure robe. A cascade of raven-dark traces veiled her face, giving her presence an aura of mystery. A gasp, an involuntary reflex born of shock, escaped my lips and I recoiled, my heart pounding. A rational thought flickered. Could she be a corporeal soul, another challenger in this grim endeavor? But when I blinked, she remained a ghastly apparition, her form dissolving into the ether like a fading mist. Panic, a vice of icy steel, gripped my soul, and I staggered backwards, colliding with the dusty chest of drawers, which surrendered to my intrusion with a cacophony of shattered glass and splintering wood. In that terrifying moment, an imperative decision, forged by unadulterated terror, overwhelmed me. I fled the accursed dwelling, heedless of all but escape, never daring to look back. My flight was relentless, until the sanctuary of my vehicle lay before me, and I sped home, the night a vigil of sleepless dread. It was not the ghostly vision that had scarred my psyche, but the chilling enigma it left in its wake, a truth lurking in the shadows, forever beyond comprehension. After my harrowing encounter within the confines of that malevolent haunted abode, I found myself caught in an unbreakable web of lingering terror. Night after night, sleep became a never-ending battle in which ghastly apparitions waged relentless war on the fragile bastion of my sanity. Sinister murmurs of malevolent intent, ghostly silhouettes lurking at the periphery of my vision, and the haunting whispers of otherworldly entities clawed at my already frayed psyche, shrouded in the suffocating cloak of darkness. Driven to the brink of despair, my search for solace led me down the winding corridors of historical archives and ancient records, unveiling the grim tapestry that was the house's sordid past. A century ago, a hapless woman named Eliza was trapped within its suffocating walls by a cruel set of circumstances. Her tormentor, a once wealthy landowner, had lapsed into madness and imprisoned her in the gloomy depths of the cellar, a prison of suffering where her anguished cries had no audience but the implacable stone walls. With each passing day, my resolve withered, for it seemed as if Eliza's tortured spirit had woven her spectral tendrils into the very fabric of my existence, imploring me to be the instrument of her redemption. It was no mere curiosity or bravado, it was a solemn calling, a summons to free her tortured soul from the shackles of the past. With trepidation coursing through my veins, I returned to the looming mansion armed not only with the physical provisions, but also with a tome of ancient rituals, a forbidden grimoire borrowed from the darkest recesses of the library's occult collection. As I descended once more into the obsidian abyss of the basement, I was greeted by the same eerie cacophony, as if the house itself were harboring ancient grievances. I relentlessly lit a circle of candles, their quivering flames forming a protective barrier. The incantations flowed from my lips, each syllable resonating with an eerie harmony. In an instant, a bone-chilling storm swept through the chamber, extinguishing the candles with an icy breath. Darkness enveloped me, its unseen tendrils coalescing into an eldritch force that pressed upon me from all sides, a vengeful wail of stone and wood. "Who dares disturb my eternal rest?" A mournful voice echoed in the recesses of my mind. Summoning every ounce of courage within me, I replied, "I am here to set you free, Eliza, to right the wrongs of a bygone era." There was a profound silence, an interlude, pregnant with unfathomable anticipation. Then the room itself seemed to shudder with malevolent fury, only to yield and allow a new illumination as the candles blazed once more, their flames now a celestial conflagration. The spectral form of Eliza materialized before my eyes, her gaze heavy with sorrow and gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice an ethereal echo. "For eons I've languished in this forsaken abyss, longing for release." I reached out with trembling fingertips and met an icy chill that paradoxically radiated warmth. Together we embarked on the sacred rite of breaking the bonds that bound her, an eternal curse that had endured the inexorable march of a century. As the final verses of the incantation fell from my lips, an iridescent flame enveloped Eliza. A profound serenity cascaded through the cellar, and she gave me one last radiant smile before dissolving into the brilliance. This time, when I fled from the cellar, it was not a flight from terror, but a triumphant ascent from the abyss. I had faced the supernatural and emerged a victor, a beacon of hope. My skepticism about the realm of spirits had been transformed into an undeniable truth, a reality indelibly etched into my consciousness. That night, I slept with a peace that had long eluded me, for I had confronted the supernatural and reshaped my own narrative in the process. The haunted house on Willow Street had been transformed from a harrowing chapter into a tale of redemption and transcendence. It stood as an enduring testament, an embodiment of the notion that in the abyss of our deepest fears, we can discover the boundless reservoirs of courage and redemption and unearth the hero within. Pursued by the shadow, I have always been a thrill seeker, you see. The eerie allure of horror films, haunted places, and all things that send shivers down your spine are my favorite domain. But allow me to recount an experience, a story that transcends the ordinary, one that thrust me into a realm of madness so profound that no amount of preparation could have prepared me for what unfolded that fateful night. Imagine, dear readers, it was a moonless night, the kind that could swallow the universe with its inky darkness. Yours? Well, I was there, deep in the wilderness, embarking on an adventure of epic proportions. An old, crumbling factory just outside the city was my destination. The walls of this abandoned place bore the graffiti of countless souls, layer upon layer, like vivid scars, etched into the very skin of the structure. The air, oh, it was as thick as my grandmother's oatmeal, filled with an impending sense of dread that clung to the surroundings like an impenetrable fog. But you know me, I could not resist the lure of the unknown, not for a single heartbeat, so I ventured boldly into the labyrinthine heart of this abandoned building, my trusty torch, my only companion, my heart. It was racing with the fervor of a nitrous-fueled dragster, echoing the high-octane thrill coursing through my veins. The adrenaline, it was surging like Niagara Falls itself, my friends. This was the very essence of the thrill-seeking that made life worth living. Then, with an abruptness that defied anticipation, it happened. A chilling gust of wind, like the breath of a phantom, swept through the factory, mercilessly extinguishing my beacon of hope, the flashlight. I fumbled desperately with the stubborn device, but it resisted my efforts, remaining ominously dormant. Panic? Oh, it struck faster than you can say boo. I was plunged into a Stygian abyss, utterly disoriented, not knowing which way was up. Just as a disquieting malaise began to gnaw at my being like a starving terrier, I heard it, a sound so faint it was like a whisper in the midst of a hurricane. A series of echoing footsteps coming closer with each passing moment. It was unmistakable. Someone or something was sharing this abandoned factory with me. And no, it wasn't just a trick of my imagination. Who's there? I tried to put on a facade of bravado, but my voice trembled more than a leaf in a storm. Silence, my dear readers, just unbroken, palpable silence. I strained my ears, desperately trying to make out the footsteps that were now getting closer, heavier, and decidedly more threatening. My heart, it resembled a marathon runner trapped inside my chest, its rhythm wild and untamed. And then it manifested, a shadowy silhouette lurking in the darkness, a creation seemingly painted by the hand of fear itself. It stood tall, unfathomably so, its form hunched as if bearing the weight of 1,000 unspeakable secrets. The details of its face, shrouded in foggy obscurity, yet his eyes, dear friends, were like twin chasms. Staring back at me from the depths of oblivion, my blood, it ran colder than the Arctic, and I involuntarily recoiled, took a step back. Escape? Yes, the thought seemed like a ray of hope. But my legs felt as if they had been turned into leaden bricks. The mysterious figure, it was approaching, each step deliberate and measured, as if reveling in the fear it had instilled in me. Summoning every ounce of resolve in my quivering being, I commanded my legs to move, and they moved, I ran. Through those labyrinthine, serpentine corridors, I receded as if my life hung in the balance, for in truth it probably did. The footsteps, they were following me, growing louder, and malice coursed through them with every frantic beat of my heart. I ran like a creature possessed, but it remained there, right behind me, its searing breath tantalizingly close to my neck. I rounded a corner, crashed into a wall, and suddenly I was trapped. I turned, and there it was, standing before me, its eyes of utter darkness locked on mine. It opened its mouth, and my friends, the sound that came out could have peeled the paint off a wall. Fear, yes, it engulfed me like an unstoppable tidal wave, and I screamed in response, my voice echoing through the abandoned factory. Then, as if someone had flicked a switch, everything, the world, the factory, the very air, went dark. Darkness, dear readers, was the only reality that remained. Gradually, my consciousness stirred from the depths of oblivion, a faint glimmer piercing the veil of unconsciousness. Cold enveloped me, my body sprawled on a cold, clammy floor that exuded an aura of decay, a pungent miasma hanging in the air. My head throbbed with unrelenting pain, while my limbs lay listless, weighed down by a leaden slumber that seemed to span the ages. The murky fog that had enveloped my senses began to dissipate, and with each passing moment, clarity of vision emerged from the haze of disorientation. But what my newly awakened eyes saw was not the familiar serene world I knew, but a realm shrouded in a darkness that surpassed even the moonless night that had preceded it. I found myself enclosed in a vast, cavernous space, its walls adorned with cryptic, phosphorescent glyphs that emitted an eerie luminescence, a spectral radiance that defied the laws of known reality. My feeble attempts to mobilize my body proved futile, for invisible bonds held my limbs in their spectral grasp, and my will alone could not shatter their ethereal bonds. A disturbing realization dawned. An insidious force that had pursued me through the abandoned factory had trapped me in this Stygian abyss. I was trapped by an entity indifferent to the concept of mercy, left to face my own vulnerability. From the obsidian depths, it materialized once more, a grotesque, hunched specter, its empty orbs now glaringly visible as it crept closer. My senses recoiled at the grotesquerie of its form. Pale, leathery flesh stretched taut over a skeletal frame, grotesquely elongated digits ending in dagger-like talons, their malevolent glow a testament to their deadly intent. Fear threatened to solidify my very being, yet defiance surged within. With a surge of indomitable will, I contorted my body against the spectral bonds, determined to free myself from this living nightmare. The fiend reveled in my struggle, his visage twisting into a malevolent grin, savoring the intoxicating bouquet of my fear. "Why?" I gasped, my voice barely above a whisper. "What is your purpose here?" In response, the chamber resounded with a soul-shattering shriek, an auditory assault that pierced my psyche with its hideous resonance. I winced, helpless against the tormenting clamor. Then, in a grotesque distortion of human speech, the creature uttered its sibilant reply, a disturbing mimicry of communication. "Fear," it hissed. "Fear sustains me, and you, thrill-seeker, have provided an exquisite feast." Adrenaline coursed through my veins like molten lava, and with an almost superhuman effort, I wrenched a limb from its spectral confines and hurled myself at the malevolent spectre. My nails slashed across its grotesque visage, eliciting an agonized cacophony as it recoiled. Its grip on me loosened, allowing the slimmest of windows for escape. I sprang to my feet, driven by primal instinct and an unwavering need to escape this abyss. The abomination gave chase, its cries echoing through the winding subterranean labyrinth, each more agonizing than the last. After an interminable amount of time, I came upon an exit, a narrow crevice leading to the world beyond. I squeezed through, the creature's agonized cries fading into the distance. I emerged into the night, gasping for breath, drenched in sweat, and consumed by an unrelenting terror. The moon cast its soothing light over the land, a balm to my wounded spirit. Freedom was mine, but the memory of that nightmarish encounter would forever haunt my waking hours. In that harrowing night, I discovered the essence of fear, the terror of the unknown, the terror of a malevolence beyond human comprehension. No longer a mere thrill-seeker, I had become a survivor, forever marked by the unspeakable horrors that lurk in the depths of the human psyche. As I left that cursed place, a disquieting thought lingered. Were there more horrors hidden in the unfathomable depths of existence, awaiting revelation by those brave enough to seek the enigma of the unknown? The enigma of the Shadow Man. I was only 10 years old, a tender age when innocence still clung to my being and my world was colored by the hues of childhood wonder. It was on a balmy summer night, the kind that wraps you in its warm embrace, that I embarked on a journey into the realm of the unexplained. As I nestled into my bed, ensconced in the velvety shroud of darkness that enveloped my room, the only respite from the night's gloom was the ethereal, silvery glow of the moon. Its soft, delicate rays seeped through the curtains, casting an enchanting spell over the room. Bedtime stories, those tales of mythical monsters and ghostly apparitions, had been my nightly companions. My older sibling, always the mischievous soul, delighted in weaving tales that sent shivers down my spine. In my youthful wisdom, however, I relegated such tales to the realm of the fantastic, believing monsters to be mere figments of the creative imagination. And yet, that very night, the tendrils of fear began to wrap themselves around my heart. A presence intangible yet undeniable crept into my room, an unseen yet deeply felt spectre. My heart danced to the rhythm of trepidation as I mustered the courage to cast a furtive glance beyond the sanctuary of my blanket. And there he stood, the Shadow Man. His silhouette, towering and menacing, wove a tapestry of darkness that seemed to defy the gentle caress of the moonlight. In the farthest corner of my room, he remained an enigmatic sentinel, silent as the night itself. My gaze remained fixed in terror as he stared, his movements deliberate and languid, his sinewy, elongated fingers stretched out like wisps of smoke, insubstantial and inscrutable. His face, an abyss shrouded in impenetrable darkness, hid his identity. In that terrifying moment, the impulse to scream, to summon my parents, lay dormant as fear closed my vocal cords. The Shadow Man's eyes, glowing pinpricks of malevolence, seemed to pierce me, studying my very being with an intensity that sent shivers down to the marrow of my bones. Time lost its meaning. Minutes stretched into hours, or perhaps it was the other way around. The temperature of the room plummeted and an eerie tension hung in the air, thick as a foreboding fog. It was as if I had become an unwilling prisoner of a never-ending nightmare, my gaze forever trapped by the sinister spectre in my midst. Summoning up a reservoir of courage, I resolved to escape this torment. With a silent, fervent prayer, I threw aside my security blanket and ran for the bedroom exit. Every footstep on the cold hardwood floor echoed through my racing heart. Safety was almost within my grasp when an icy chill descended and a suffocating dread swelled within me. I turned, compelled by unseen forces, to find the Shadow Man, now on the threshold, blocking my path to sanctuary. Breath caught in my throat, limbs paralyzed, I stood in the throes of terror. He approached, his ominous presence suffocating. In the pale moonlight, his eyes gleamed malevolently, twin embers of wickedness boring into the depths of my soul. I stood still, a prisoner of fear. A bony finger, elongated and skeletal, emerged from the obsidian cloak that shrouded him and pointed at me. An accusatory gesture, a wordless vow of doom. Then, with an abruptness that left me gasping, he spoke, a mere whisper that echoed through the room, a haunting symphony of dread. "Escape eludes you," he hissed, his voice a sinister rasp. "I am your everlasting companion." In that chilling moment, the line between myth and reality dissolved. The Shadow Man, a nocturnal enigma, was not a figment of fantastic tales, but a corporeal presence. The fear of the unknown had been transformed into a terrifying certainty, and I could only wonder what horrors lay ahead in the relentless company of the Shadow Man. The chamber seemed to close in around me, an oppressive atmosphere, heightened by the formidable presence of the shadowy figure. It pressed down on me with a force that seemed insurmountable, a relentless weight that choked my every breath. Gasping, my breathing grew shallow, beads of cold sweat dotting my forehead like glistening dewdrops on a chilly morning. Summoning every ounce of determination I could, I forcibly averted my gaze from the shadowy creature, a being devoid of substance but brimming with an eerie, malevolent aura. With an adrenaline rush, I raced down the corridor, my footsteps echoing in my ears like a cascade of heartbeats. My destination, the sanctuary of my parents. In an explosive burst, I shattered the silence of their sleeping chamber, my voice rising from my constricted throat in a frenzied crescendo of terror. My screams pierced the silent night, a desperate cry for salvation. My parents awoke abruptly, caught in a web of disorientation and alarm, their features etched with concern as they rushed to my side. Their faces bore the marks of deep worry as they struggled to offer comfort and reassurance. "A presence in my chamber," I stammered, my voice trembling and tears streaming down my cheeks. "The shadow creature, it exists in reality." My father, endowed with an innate rationality, quickly inspected my bedroom, but found no tangible evidence of intrusion. My mother wrapped me in a warm embrace, her words a balm to my trembling form. "A mere nightmare, my love," she murmured in dulcet tones, her voice a soothing sonnet. "There is no entity, no shadowy spectre." But deep down, I harbored the unsettling knowledge that this was no ordinary nightmare. It was a chilling rendezvous with the mysterious, an encounter with the supernatural that shook me to the core. In the years that followed, I struggled to convince myself that the shadowy figure was a manifestation of a childhood fears, a mere product of a fertile imagination. Yet there were moments, tucked away in the nocturnal abyss or hidden in the elongated tendrils of twilight, when I felt its lingering presence, lurking in the recesses of my psyche. As I matured, I was consumed by an unquenchable thirst for understanding, a relentless search for the truth. I delved into the annals of paranormal literature, sought advice from those who claimed a connection to the ethereal, and ventured into deserted places in search of answers. But the shadowy figure remained an enigma, a phantasm that defied categorization. It was only when I dared to confront the nebulous realm of the unknown head-on, when I acknowledged that the world held mysteries beyond our comprehension, that I began to discover a modicum of serenity. The shadowy figure may have left a permanent mark on my psyche, but it also ignited a fervent curiosity that drove me to explore the uncharted frontiers of the supernatural. I may never fully fathom the nature of the shadowy figure or plume, the depths of its malevolence, but I have cultivated an uneasy coexistence with the specter of the enigmatic. In this coexistence, I have found an eerie and unsettling comfort, a reminder that there are forces in our world that defy explanation, and that sometimes the shadows hold secrets best left undisturbed. And there you have it. Our journey into the supernatural comes to an end. We hope these stories have left you with a lingering sense of unease, a reminder that the unknown can be far more terrifying than we dare to imagine. If you enjoyed these stories and want to delve deeper into the world of the unexplained, don't forget to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe for more spine-tingling content. Until next time, remember, sometimes the things we fear most are the ones that make us question the very boundaries of reality.